Welcome back, and thanks for hanging out for part 2. If you're listening to this, one of two things has just happened. A, you're Justin, and after hearing your little tale, you want to hear who's next. Or B, you're someone else and you're waiting to see if it's you. Well, Alex Standall, it's your turn. I'm sure you have no idea why you're on here, Alex. You probably think you did a good thing, right? You voted me best ass in the freshman class. How could anyone be angry at that? Listen. First, Alex, if you think I'm being silly, if you think I'm some stupid little girl who gets her panties in a bunch over the tiniest things, taking everything way too seriously, no one's making you listen. Sure, I am pressuring you with that second set of tapes, but who cares if people around town know what you think of my ass, right? I can name a whole list of people who would care. I can name a list of people who would care very much if these tapes got out. So let's begin, shall we? I remember sitting in second period the morning your list came out. Miss Strum obviously had an amazing weekend because she did absolutely no prep work whatsoever. She had us watch one of her famously dull documentaries. What it was on, I don't recall, but the narrator did have a thick British accent. And I remember picking out an old piece of tape stuck on my desk to keep from falling asleep. To me, the narrator's voice was nothing more than background noise. Well, the narrator's voice and the whispers. When I looked up, the whispers stopped. Any eyes looking at me turned away, but I saw that paper getting passed around, a single sheet making its way up and down the aisles. Eventually, it made its way to the desk behind me, to Jimmy Long's desk, which groaned as his body weight shifted. Any of you who were in class that morning, tell me. Jimmy was taking a sneaky peek over the back of my chair, wasn't he? That's all I could picture as he whispered, "You bet it is." Someone whispered, "You idiot jackass." I turned around, but I was not in a whispering mood. "You bet what is." Jimmy, who'll drink up the attention any girl gives him, gave a half smile and glanced down at the paper on his desk. Again came the idiot whisper, this time repeated across the room as if no one wanted me in on the joke. I tilted my head so I could read the upside-down title of the paper. Freshman class, who's hot, who's not. Jimmy's desk groaned again as he sat back, and I knew Miss Strum was coming, but I had to find my name. I didn't care why I was on the list. At the time, I don't think I even cared which side of the list I was on. There was just something about having everyone agree on something about you, that opens a cage of butterflies in your stomach. And as Miss Strum walked up the aisle, ready to grab that list before I found my name, the butterflies went berserk. Where is my name? Where? Got it. Miss Strum snatched the list away, and I turned back to the front of the room. After a few minutes, gaining the nerve to look, I snuck a peek to the other side of the room. As expected, Jessica Davis looked pissed. Why? Because right next to my name, but in the other column, was hers. Her pencil tapped against her notebook at Morse code speed, and her face was burning red. My only thought? Thank God I don't know Morse code. Truth is, Jessica Davis is so much prettier than I am. Write up a list of every body part, and you'll have a row of check marks the whole way down for each time her body beats mine. Everyone knows worst ass in the freshman class was a lie. You can't even consider it stretching the truth. But I'm sure no one cared why Jessica ended up on that side of your list, Alex. Well, no one except you and me, and Jessica makes 3. Maybe some people think you were right in choosing me. I don't think so. But let me put it this way. I don't think my ass, as you called it, was the deciding factor. I think the deciding factor was revenge. But this tape is not about your motivation, Alex, though that is coming up. This tape is about how people change when they see your name on a stupid list. This tape is about... Okay, I just looked over every name, every story that completes these tapes. And guess what? Every single event documented here may never have happened had you, Alex, not written my name on that list. It's that simple. You needed a name to put down opposite Jessica's, and since everyone at school already had a perverted image of me after Justin's little number, I was the perfect choice, wasn't I? And the snowball keeps a-rolling. Thanks, Justin. So, to back up a bit, this tape isn't about why you did what you did, Alex. It's about the repercussions of what you did. More specifically, it's about the repercussions to me. It's about those things you didn't plan, things you couldn't plan. The day your list came out wasn't too traumatic. I survived. I knew it was a joke. And the people I saw standing in the halls, huddled around whoever had a copy, they knew it was a joke too. One big, fat, happy joke. But what happens when someone says you have the best ass in the freshman class? Let me tell you, Alex, because you'll never know. It gives people, some people, the go-ahead to treat you like you're nothing but that specific body part. Need an example? Fine. B3 on your maps. Blue Spot Liquor. I have no idea why it's called that, but it's only a block or so away from my first house. I used to walk there any time I had a sweet tooth, which means, yes, I went there every day. 95% of the time, Blue Spot was empty. Just me and the man behind the register. I don't think a lot of people know it's even there because it's tiny and squished between two other stores, both of which have been closed since we moved here. From the sidewalk, Blue Spot looks like a posting board for cigarette and alcohol ads, and inside, well, it looks about the same. Hanging over the front of the counter, a wire rack holds all the best candies. Well, they're my favorites anyway. And the moment I open the door, the man at the register rings me up, cha-ching, even before I pick up a candy bar, because he knows I never leave without one. Someone once described the man behind the counter as having a face of a walnut, and he does. Probably from smoking so much, but having the name Wally probably doesn't help. Honestly, in all the times I've been to Blue Spot, I don't think I've ever heard Wally utter a single word. I'm trying to remember a single hello, or hey, or even a friendly grunt, but the only sound I ever heard him utter was because of you, Alex. What a pal. That day, as usual, a bell jingled over the door as I walked in. Cha-ching went the register. I picked out a candy bar from the rack on the counter, but I can't tell you which one because I don't remember. If I wanted to, I could tell you the name of the person who walked in while I searched my backpack for money. I do remember, but he was just one of many jerks I've run into over the years. I don't know, maybe I should expose all of them, but as far as your story goes, Alex, his action, his horrible, disgusting action, was just an after effect of yours. Plus, he's got a whole tape to himself. He threw open the door to Blue Spot. Hey, Wally, he said, and he said it with such arrogance, which sounded so natural coming from his mouth. I could tell you it wasn't the first time he'd said it that way, acting like Wally was beneath him. Oh, Hannah, hey, he said. I didn't see you there. Did I mention I was standing at the counter, visible to anyone the moment they opened the door? I acknowledged him with a tiny smile, found my money, and dropped it into Wally's wrinkled hand. Wally, as far as I could tell, didn't respond to him in any way. Not an eye catch, or a twitch, or a smile. His usual greetings for me. Hey, Wally, guess what? His breath came from just over my shoulder. My backpack was resting on the counter while I zipped it shut. Wally's eyes were focused down, just beyond the edge of the counter, near my waist, and I knew it was coming. A cupped hand smacked my ass, and then he said it. Best ass in the freshman class, Wally, standing right here in your store. Did it hurt? No. But that doesn't matter, does it? Because the question is, did he have the right to do it? And the answer, I hope, is obvious. I knocked his hand away with a quick backhand swipe that every girl should master. And that's when Wally emerged from his shell. That's when Wally made a sound. His mouth stayed shut, and it was nothing more than a quick click of the tongue. That little noise took me by surprise. Inside, I knew. Wally was a ball of rage. I swung my backpack over my shoulder and probably whispered, "Excuse me." But when I moved around him, I purposely avoided his eyes. I had the door in sight, ready to leave, when he grabbed my wrist and spun me around. He said my name, and when I looked into his eyes, the joking was gone. I yanked my arm, but his grip was tight. Then the jerk let go and put his hand on my shoulder. "I'm only playing, Hannah. Just relax." Okay, let's dissect what just happened. I thought about it the entire walk home from Blue Spot, which is probably why I don't remember which candy bar I bought that day. First his words, then his actions. Statement number 1, "I'm only playing, Hannah." Translation, your ass is my play toy. You might think you have final say over what happens to your ass, but you don't. At least, not as long as I'm only playing. Statement number 2, just relax. Translation, come on, Hannah. All I did was touch you with no indication that you wanted me to touch you. If it'll make you feel better, go ahead. You can touch me wherever you'd like. Now let's talk about his actions, shall we? Action number 1, grabbing my ass. Interpretation, let me back up and say this guy had never grabbed my ass before. So why now? My pants weren't anything special. They weren't overly tight. Sure, they were slung a little low, and he probably got a hip shot. But he didn't grab my hips. He grabbed my ass. Alex, am I saying your list gave him permission to grab my ass? No, I'm saying it gave him an excuse. And an excuse was all this guy needed. Action number 2, he grabbed my wrist, then put his hand on my shoulder. You know, I'm not even going to interpret this. I'm just going to tell you why it pissed me off. I've had my butt grabbed before. No big deal. But this time, it was grabbed because someone else wrote my name on a list. And when this guy saw me upset, did he apologize? No. Instead, he got aggressive. Then, in the most condescending way, he told me to relax. Then he put his hand on my shoulder, as if by touching me, he'd somehow comfort me. Here's a tip. If you touch a girl, even as a joke, and she pushes you off, leave her alone. Don't touch her anywhere. Just stop. Your touch does nothing but sicken her. There are some sick and twisted people out there, Alex, and maybe I'm one of them. But the point is, when you hold people up for ridicule, you have to take responsibility when other people act on it. Actually, that's not right. You didn't hold me up for ridicule, did you? My name was in the hot column. You wrote Jessica's name in the not column. You held Jessica up for ridicule. And that's where our snowball picks up speed. Jessica, my dear, you're next.